What an unbelievably ridiculous, disgusting mess that it took Trump 6 months to wreak havoc. U.S. soldiers.
It's going to get soldiers shot at from rooftops in the cities. What's going to happen?
Which is crazy to think.
And then what are the soldiers going to do? What they've been trained to do.
Against Americans, though?
And how's that going to go?
The answer is all you can do is vote. I mean, or you can shoot at soldiers.
I would say, who is the onus on to not attack people? I think it's the government.
Oh, of course it is. But how are we going to force Trump to stop doing something?
I guess I'll leave it kind of with a question. I kind of want to see a question for some people.
Yeah.
Is with kind of everything we just outlined, particularly in the U.S., we'll focus on that, with the government enacting violence upon the citizenry on its own accord, not in response, shooting the beanbag rounds at a protester going home.
Yep, offensively.
Like you said. Yeah, using it as an offensive means to attack the citizenry. What is the response the citizenry is supposed to have? What are they supposed to do?
Is the answer...
Are they supposed to sit by and let themselves get attacked? Or is it defend themselves? And if it's defend themselves...
I think it's in the blood of Americans to defend themselves.
I agree. And if it's defend themselves, what does that mean? Is it just hold more signs? Because that's clearly not working. So it's just, I want everyone to think about when they hear LA is riots or wherever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Probably tomorrow we'll get a new news line of like...
Yeah, it could be Boston.
Yeah, Massachusetts in anarchy or whatever, right? I want everyone to think of, well, check, were the protesters shot at first? Did the cops start this problem? We like to pride ourselves on being, I have my Second Amendment because if the government oversteps, that's this country apparently.
I mean,
that's what you've seen, right?
Yeah.
Your whole life.
I mean, what do I think that we're going to be doing?
What?
Vote.
Thanks, Obama.
Vote.
That's going to help.
I mean,
what would you tell the girl who got shot with that beanbag round on her chest? What would you tell her? Just wait 2 years and you can vote? And then wait 2 more years after that and you can vote for a new president?
Well, I mean, I really think she's probably not going to vote for Trump.
True.
So
what should she do in the meantime?
Well, I mean, as long as...
Not that she hates the police.
Well, I mean, as long as there's not a cop stationed at her front door stopping her from getting into her apartment, eventually the cops are going to go away, right? All of this inflamedness, obviously it'll all dissipate. Everything is going to dissipate. I think these marches and riots, whatever that they are, I mean, obviously there's a risk for any of these to escalate at any point.
Yeah.
There's definitely a risk for more American troops, U.S. soldiers.
To not be beanbag rounds anymore. That's starting soon. I'm going to guess.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I've seen no news. That's totally speculation.
If an American gets killed by an American soldier on U.S. soil,
oh God!
But still, it's going to be the same thing that you're asking. So what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, what are we supposed to do?
There's only one thing that we can do.
Let ourselves get killed?
Probably what it'll do is it'll scare enough people to think, well, I'm going to get killed, so I'm not going to go out. But
and it's going to get a Marine shot. That's what it's going to do.
Well, it could.
If it's a Marine, I'm saying Marine because they're the ones there.
Right.
Whoever, I don't care.
A soldier, a U.S. soldier.
It's going to get soldiers shot at from rooftops in the cities. What's going to happen?
Which is crazy to think.
And then what are the soldiers going to do? What they've been trained to do.
Against Americans, though?
And how's that going to go?
The answer is all you can do is vote. I mean, or you can shoot at soldiers.
I would say, who is the onus on to not attack people? I think it's the government.
Oh, of course it is. But how are we going to force Trump to stop doing something? Unless the government, look.
How do you think Congress will react when the news of a soldier killing a U.S. citizen in the street of Los Angeles is going to go?
Mike Johnson probably will say that that person had it coming to them because they were looting and throwing bricks and firebombs.
I think the American thing to do.
I mean, okay, I understand that you're asking them. What do you think?
What do you think? I want to know what you have to say about it. I want to see in the comments. Let me know.
Yeah, but now you can say your part.
Yeah.
What's your advice for all these Americans as the intensity and the violence is escalating?
I think Americans have the right to defend themselves as any human being on this planet. Now, right now, it's like they're like putting out the gas canisters, trying to have things to block themselves from beanbag rounds, right? But not a endorsement or a condemnation. I'm just saying, don't be surprised that cop cars are getting destroyed. If you're shooting at protesters with beanbag rounds unprompted, I'm saying don't be surprised. I'm not saying I endorse it or don't endorse it. That's not the point of this.
So beat violence with more violence.
The point is, are we shocked?
Oh, yeah.
I would say
no.
I would say no.
I mean, this is America and we're Americans. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or what you are, but it does seem to be in our blood to resist oppression like this.
That's what we do. That's what we're known for, like globally.
So
that's our myth.
I think there's going to be a limit to how much oppression can happen before enough people. And look, it doesn't take all of us. All it takes is 1% of us to take the streets. But you're talking about 3 million people.
I think, yeah.
Like if 3 million people are
twice the size of the entire military personnel.
That's what I'm getting at. So there's way more of us than there are. I realize that a lot of law enforcement and a lot of the people in the military, they vote Republican.
I don't think if it really gets to shooting, most of them won't. There'll be some that will.
There will be some that will. That's for sure. But
not all of them will.
No, I
think so.
I think
enough of them have enough sanity to not do that.
I agree with that. So that's where there is going to be a line that is crossed at some point where it's just so crazy that even somebody like Lindsey Graham or Mike Johnson says this is too much and it has to stop.
I'll read the quote, like 2 words and you'll know what the quote is.
Okay.
So everything that you just said about the protests and what we should do and how it should be handled and your thoughts on it, I'm going to read you a quote. I'm now challenging your belief in the revolution.
Okay.
And whether you like it as it was a history thing or whether it's like in your spirit and in your bloodstream.
Yes.
The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants.
Yes.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
This is quite well known.
Yes, of course.
So with that quote.
It's a natural manure.
Yep. So with that quote, I then ask you.
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
You're a big fan of revolution, famously.
Got it.
Shot British people and attacked them in the street.
In my mind, Trump, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, Peter Thiel, the controlling powers.
Yeah.
In my mind, even though he is acting in a tyrannical way, he doesn't become a tyrant or that regime doesn't become a tyranny until they stop elections.
That's the only thing that is the line between tyranny and not tyranny?
If it was possible for the Americans or the Englishmen who revolted in 1776, if there was a way for them to vote themselves free, I think they would have voted themselves into freedom rather than going to war.
Yeah.
So if the Trump regime and whoever is next in line, and if it is just a continuation of the Trump regime and there isn't elections anymore, then to me, that's when we've lost our democracy entirely. All clues point towards this is not looking good. So,
but in your understanding of all these terms, we haven't crossed the threshold yet.
Well, I think that's what makes a big difference between.
I'm totally trying to understand.
No, absolutely. I think that's what makes a big difference between what happened in the American Revolution, in that obviously it was a monarchy, there was a king.
Yeah, I mean, translate modern times, whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So in my mind, in my heart, the modern version of that is when we all decide, or enough of us decide, we don't like that there's troops on American soil. We don't like what's going on with, tariffs. We don't like what's going on with all these wars. We don't like what's going on with Israel. We don't like what's going on with immigration and ICE or whatever, all the different things, all the corruption, all of the theft of money straight from the American people. At some point, we all say, enough of us at least will say, we don't like this system. We want Gavin Newsom to lead us.
God.
Or AOC to lead us, I know, or Pete Buttigieg, or somebody else that we don't even know, but we want somebody else to take over and bring a democratic approach back to the way that we govern. When we can no longer vote that system out, and we are forced with it and stuck with it no matter what we do and how we vote, then that's when we have to resist.
The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time.
That, to me, is when it happens. Okay, that could happen in 2028.
I have a follow-up point.
Okay.
You were alive in 2020.
I was alive.
Famously, I believe.
I was, yes.
Unless you're in a very old...
Well-known.
Very old 5-year-old.
I was well-known.
That's also true.
Yes. In 2020, I was well-known.
January 6th happened. He damn near pulled it off. He had all the pieces, and he had a lot of the pieces in place. He came closer than a lot of people ever did before.
But it would all that would have happened was, they would have adjourned for that day. restored order, and then they would have, moved on to, deal with it, the next day. And I mean,
So you've delayed. So this is the thing, but then you've delayed it. So now you've started the ball. Now you started the reaction, like the chain reaction.
sure, but that didn't happen.
Let's say then Trump goes, well, now I've to declare martial law for order, and now he starts suspending elections.
Ask me then.
So now,
Ask me then.
country is way more hostile, not hostile, way more volatile.
Yes.
Now than it was then.
I agree.
I have no reason to suspect that he's going to try to play by any rules in any of these elections. I don't trust JD. I sure as hell don't trust Stephen Miller.
No.
That's for sure.
No, I don't.
Trump might make it to 2028. I don't know. He's pretty old and he's looking real weak.
It's looking rough.
It's not looking good.
I know. He's looking rough.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask that because as a fan of the revolution, we were in Boston recently.
Well, that's where I'm at
last
with
year.
it in my heart. Am I aware of the fact that we may be obligated at some point in our lifetimes to take up arms
Theoretically.
against a tyrannical government that has canceled elections in America? Might that happen? Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that that's not a conceivable thing based on J6 and, based on
The way things look right now.
troops. I mean, I'm not like head in the sand. Like, I don't think this is even like a possibility in America.
It's more possible this year than it was last year. For sure.
Maybe even more possible next year.
Than
and
it is this year.
And it may be even more possible by the time the 2028
Where it's like
rolls
this is a
around.
concern.
For sure. Yes, I am aware that there is a possibility that it may get like that, but I don't think that we've crossed the threshold.
The Rubicon, so to speak.
Yes, we've crossed the Rubicon. We cannot go back. I think when we cannot vote these people out of power anymore, then
Gotcha.
that to me is when it starts.
I gotcha.
Okay. But I've got my eye on it. Like I'm sure that we all will.
Well, I wanted to keep you honest.
Thank you.
I had to keep you honest. And I appreciate the coherence in your brain about it. So
Good.
Bit of a scattered shot week this week.
No, this is, I mean, the world is chaos. Our country is chaos. Our government is chaos. And the people don't know what to do. So our show becomes chaos.
Yes. And all you have to do is look to your fellow citizen and
To my left.
with my
and to
right.
my right.
Yep. The people around you.
And hold my flag.
And that's where it's starting to feel weird to have this here now that all the government's doing a bunch of crazy stuff. It's weird. It's odd.
I'm keeping it right here with me.
Okay.
Because this is still my country.
Yeah.
And this still means that I can vote these people out of power as long as we can all still do that.
That's crazy. I have a slightly different perspective. We can get into it another time. It's fine. My view is this flag means come hell or high water, we'll get the goddamn government we want in there one way or another. That's the way I look at it.
I love it. Because we can.
We can.
Because our Constitution is designed to allow
Deems
for
us
that.
so. Yeah. So we'll wrap for this week.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you're safe on this No Kings massive protest day while lawmakers are getting assassinated.
Keep an eye on the news. Don't let them fearmonger you and propagandize you. You are protesting tyrants.
Be safe. Love to all.